In this video, we'll be creating our index.php template. Okay, so I just have my index.php file open, and we created a blank file, so we have nothing in here right now. And before we start adding things, we want to think about the purpose of what this template is for and how we'd want that type of content to be displayed. So since index.php is the most generic template file and will be used if there's no other template file that's more specific to whatever type of content is being queried in our theme, we want it to be pretty flexible. And thinking about my theme, I think I would want this to be kind of just a full width template and just be very simple and pull in the content and the heading of whatever is being queried. So to get started, I'm going to create a PHP opening and closing tag. So I'm going to say PHP, and then I'm going to close it a couple lines down. And then I want to start by adding a comment just so we know what this template is for, because maybe we would have someone working on our site who didn't know what the index.php template file was for, just to, just make sure we over document or document sufficiently everything that we're doing. So we're going to say our main template file, and then thinking of just our full width layout that we want here. If you think back to our prototype, I mentioned that I wanted to create a full width template. So I'm going to use that as a basis for my index.php file as well. So I'm going to come up here to File, Open, and I'm just going to open up that fullwidth.html file, and I can look at this, how I want the structure to be, and use it as a basis. So if you look up here, we have our doc type, we have our head element with all of our head information, we have our body, and since we're creating templates, a lot of this is going to be templated out to, if you remember, we talked about template partials, those are individual modules or part of a page. And in WordPress, we have a header template partial called header.php, and we put most of this opening HTML in it. Basically, we generally put everything from our opening doc type down to our opening body tag, and then the start of some code that'll call in our main navigation. So we don't want any of that in our index.php file because that's going to be templated out. And the same with our footer. So what we're mainly interested in here is our main content div. So I'm just going to copy this, everything from our closing header tag to right below our opening footer tag. I'm going to hit Control-C to copy all of this so we pull in all of the right classes and stuff like that that's already being used in our CSS. And I'm just going to paste it right below our PHP tag. And since we didn't include our header information, we're going to put in a template tag up here to pull in that template partial when we create that at a later time. We have a specific tag we can use, so we can just say get_header and then some parentheses and a semicolon, and what that's going to do is that's just going to get our header file. And then right below here we'll be adding some main content code in just a second, but after our main content I want to add another PHP tag. And inside of this, I want to use a very similar function, and that's getFooter. So we have a function that's going to pull in our header template, and then we have another one that's going to pull in our footer template. So we'll see how those are set up in a later video. And now we just want to come in and template out our main content. So we're not going to have dummy text in our template, so we want to go ahead and get rid of that. So I don't want to accidentally get my closing tag, so everything that's not this opening main content tag in that closing main content tag. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this. And now we just have our structure for our HTML. So we have all these main container classes, which is exactly what I wanted. And one thing I might do here is my main content, instead of using a div, I'm going to change this just to be a main element, so it's a little bit more semantic. We're using that HTML5 element. And then instead of my heading 1 saying main heading, I want to use some specific WordPress code, which is going to fetch the main title or the main heading for whatever is being queried, whatever post or page. So we're going to use some PHP code. So inside of our HTML tag, we want to use that PHP opening and closing tag. And then inside of here, first I want to say echo, because we want to print this out in the page. Otherwise it's going to get it, but it's not going to do anything with it. So we want to make sure this is going to show on the page. And then we want to say get underscore the underscore title. And then our parentheses, so it's going to get whatever the title is of whatever is being queried. So that'll automatically be shown in our header tag. So very, very cool. And then in our actual main content, I want to use the WordPress loop to query whatever content is in the post or the page. So whatever we typed in the post or the page editor screen, it's going to fetch whatever in that editor. So we're going to start our loop. So right underneath our opening tag, I'm going to add a comment. Oops, I want to add that PHP comment, or opening and closing tag. And then I'm going to add that comment now, and I'm going to say we're going to start the loop. And then we're going to add all of our WordPress loop code. So it's going to see if we have posts, and if we do have posts, then we're going to pass it a post object, which is going to make some template tags available to us. So I'm going to come in and start this. So we want to say first, we're going to start our if statement. So I'm going to say if we have posts, so if there are posts, then we're going to say while we have posts, we're going to pass it this function called the post, which is going to pass the post, a reference to a post object to our loop, and it's going to make the template tags available to us that only work inside the loop. So we can use another template tag called the content, which is going to fetch the main content of our post, which wouldn't work outside of the loop because it doesn't know what you're referencing. So I'm going to say the content, and we'll go over this in just a second. And then I want to end my while loop, so I'm going to say end while. So it's going to end this while loop. And then I want to end this if statement as well. So I'm going to say end if. And so this is all very specific to the loop code. So this is all in WordPress's documentation. And this is just a very, very basic WordPress loop. So it's going to look through our posts. It's going to say if we have posts, while we have posts, we want to pass the post object, and we just want to get the content, and then that's all we're going to do. So we could customize this a lot more if we wanted this to be very specific to something. Let's say we're creating a blog post or a blog page, excuse me, and we want to be able to get things like comments or the author of a post, and we wanted to have a lot of control over how that was formatted, then we can customize this loop a lot more. But since we just want a kind of a very basic full width template, I don't want to do any of that. I only just want to get the content. So we're going to get that content. We also have our post or page title echoing out in our H1 tag, and this looks pretty good to me. I don't need anything more complicated than that. I just want it to be a very, very basic file. So I'm going to hit Control S to save. And now that we have our generic main template file set up, in our next lesson, we're going to learn how to create our homepage.